The winter storm had turned the small frontier town of Red Hollow into a frozen battlefield. Snow covered the wooden streets, the wind screamed between the old buildings, and travelers rushed inside the warm glow of the town's only hotel, hoping to escape the deadly cold outside. Inside the crowded frontier inn, cowboys sat around wooden tables. Miners shared stories, and travelers enjoyed hot meals beside the fireplace. The smell of fresh bread and warm stew filled the room. But while everyone inside was eating, one woman stood near the entrance, holding the hand of a young boy who looked like he had not seen a proper meal in days. Her name was Clara Whitmore. Her clothes were covered with snow, her face showed exhaustion, and her young son Eli could barely keep his eyes open. The room slowly became quiet as people noticed them. Clara looked around, hoping someone would offer help. But one by one, people looked away. Some were too busy, some were afraid of getting involved, and some simply believed her problem was not theirs. Clara swallowed her pride and walked toward the counter. Her voice trembled as she spoke. "Please, my son and I only need a little food." The owner looked uncomfortable. "I'm sorry, ma'am, we have rules. No money, no meal." Clara lowered her eyes. She had heard those words many times during her journey. No money, no help, no place to go. Eli held his mother's hand tighter. "Mama, I'm not hungry," he whispered. But Clara knew he was lying. A mother always knows. She turned away, trying to hide her tears. Then a voice came from the corner of the room. "Bring them a meal." Everyone looked toward the speaker. A lone cowboy sat near the fireplace. His name was Caleb Morgan. He was known across Red Hollow as a quiet rancher who rarely spoke unless necessary. His weathered face showed years of hard work, but his eyes still carried kindness. The owner hesitated. "Caleb, are you sure?" Caleb reached into his pocket and placed his last few coins on the table. "Give them whatever they need." Clara looked shocked. "You don't even know us." Caleb looked at Eli. "No child should sit hungry while others are eating." Those simple words changed everything. Eli was given a warm bowl of stew and fresh bread. At first he ate slowly, almost afraid the food would disappear, but soon his hunger took over. Clara watched her son eat, and tears filled her eyes. Not because she was sad, because someone finally cared. After the meal, Caleb noticed something strange. Clara kept looking toward the hotel windows. Every time the door opened, she became nervous. Every sound of footsteps made her tense. Caleb had lived long enough on the frontier to recognize fear, and that was not ordinary fear. That was the fear of someone running from the past. Later that night, as the storm grew stronger, Caleb approached her. "Who are you running from?" Clara stayed silent. For a moment it seemed she would not answer. Then she slowly revealed the truth. "My husband died 6 months ago," she said. "After that, a man named Victor Hale claimed we owed him money. He wanted my land, and when I refused, he threatened to take my son away." Caleb listened carefully. "Why didn't you go to the law?" Clara looked down. "Because Victor owns the law in every town we passed." Before Caleb could respond, the hotel doors suddenly opened. A cold wind rushed inside. Everyone turned. A man in a black coat stood in the doorway with 2 armed riders behind him. Clara's face went pale. Eli grabbed her hand. "Mama," she whispered one name. "Victor." The man smiled when he saw them. "There you are." The entire room became silent. Victor Hale had found them. But he did not know one thing. This time, Clara and Eli were not alone. Because standing between them and danger was a cowboy who had already decided to protect them. The entire room inside the Red Hollow Inn became silent as Victor Hale stepped forward. The warmth of the fireplace suddenly felt meaningless compared to the coldness in his eyes. Clara held Eli close. For months she had been running from this moment. She knew Victor would find her eventually, but she never expected someone to stand between them. Caleb Morgan slowly rose from his chair. He did not shout, he did not threaten, he simply stood there, and that was enough. Victor looked at him and smiled. "Caleb Morgan, I heard you were still playing the hero." Caleb stared back. "I heard you were still hurting people who couldn't fight back." The room became tense. Everyone in the inn knew Victor Hale's reputation. He was a powerful man with money, land, and influence. Most people avoided crossing him because they knew the price of becoming his enemy. Victor looked toward Clara. "You belong with me, this little escape is over." Eli stepped closer to Caleb. The boy was afraid, but he trusted the man who had given him food when nobody else would. Caleb noticed that, and something inside him changed. Years ago Caleb had lost his own family during a harsh winter. After that pain, he built walls around his heart. He convinced himself that caring for others only brought more suffering. But looking at Eli, he remembered something he had forgotten. Sometimes protecting someone was worth the risk. Caleb looked at Victor. "She stays." Victor laughed. "You think you can stop me?" Caleb replied quietly. "No." Everyone looked surprised. Then Caleb continued, but I know people who will. The next morning, the story spread across Red Hollow. The quiet rancher had challenged Victor Hale, the man everyone feared. Many people thought Caleb had made a terrible mistake, but something unexpected happened. People began coming forward. A farmer revealed how Victor had taken his land through unfair deals. A worker admitted Victor had threatened him. Another family shared how they had been forced to leave their home. Slowly, the truth about Victor Hale started coming out. He was not powerful because he was right. He was powerful because people were afraid. But fear disappears when people stand together. Meanwhile, Caleb helped Clara and Eli reach safety at his ranch outside town. For the first time in months, Eli saw a place where he could feel like a child again. He ran through the fields, he watched the horses, he smiled, and Caleb realized the empty ranch that once felt like a reminder of his loneliness was becoming something else, a home. But Victor was not ready to lose. One night he arrived at the ranch with his men. The sky was dark, the wind was strong, and the old frontier was about to witness a final battle between greed and kindness. Victor looked at Caleb. You gave these people hope. Do you know what hope costs? Caleb stepped forward. Everything. Victor smiled. Then you'll lose everything. Caleb looked back at the cabin, at Clara, at Eli, then he looked at Victor. I already lost everything once. He paused. I'm not afraid anymore. The confrontation ended with the truth finally coming to light. The evidence Clara carried from her husband's old documents proved Victor had been using lies to steal land from innocent families. With the town standing together, Victor Hale's power collapsed. The man who once controlled everyone was finally forced to answer for his actions. Months later, spring arrived in Red Hollow. The fields around Caleb's ranch turned green. The cabin that once held only silence was now filled with laughter. Eli helped Caleb with the horses every morning. Clara planted flowers outside the cabin, and Caleb, the lonely cowboy who thought his story was already over, discovered a new beginning. One evening, Clara stood beside him watching the sunset. Do you remember the night we met? She asked. Caleb smiled. The night you walked into that inn. She nodded. I thought I was asking a stranger for a meal. Caleb looked toward the cabin where Eli was laughing. And what did you find? Clara smiled. A home. That night in the Frontier Hotel, a hungry mother and her son walked in with nothing. No money, no hope, no place to go. But one cowboy decided that kindness was worth more than comfort. And because of that choice, 3 broken lives became one family. If this story touched your heart, like this video and subscribe to Meaningful Horizons for more emotional Wild West stories of courage, hope, and second chances. The end.